Literacy is such an important concept in education, especially in preschool settings. As we've interacted with 3 to 5-year-olds this past semester, we've observed how literacy is included in the classroom. Being in the teacher's shoes, we've especially noticed how important of a role the classroom and teachers play on introducing and presenting literacy to students. We wanted to focus on the children and their experiences and interactions with literacy, which led us to our question. In what ways do children interact with different forms of literacy, and how are their interests in these specific types of literacy supported in the classroom? We would like to welcome you into classrooms A4 and C2 to experience our process of learning about children and their interaction with literacy.
When looking into our question, our first thought was to examine our classroom environments. How are our students' classrooms supporting their interests and encouraging them to interact with more literacy? Some of the things we found were bookshelves filled with all sorts of fiction and nonfiction books that are at the children's level, along with literacy centers laid out every morning for the students to explore. The walls are filled with posters, the alphabet, and the children's artwork that correspond with books they have read in the past. The children also always have the choice of interacting with the Writing Center materials during free play. These materials are endless, including paper, markers, envelopes, crayons, colored pencils, scissors, tape, and so much more. After examining our classroom environment, we wondered how specific topics were chosen for the students and what our teachers do to gauge student interest in their classroom. We decided that the best way to figure out what students like is to interview the students themselves. We asked our students the following questions below.
As we were talking to students about their experiences with literacy, we realized that children enjoy interacting with literacy at home as well. To learn more about how students and parents involve literacy at home, we decided to send a survey home to their parents. We asked the parents to respond to questions such as, approximately how many hours a week do you read to your child? When and where? How often does your child interact with books independently? Is there a specific book or type of book that your child is more interested in? Does your child interact with technology at home? If yes, what are they? Where do you get most of your reading materials?
For a while, we imagined literacy consisted of only books and writing, but our observations and discussions with the preschoolers taught us otherwise. Students' interests were being shown through storytelling as well as drawing pictures. We've noticed that the Disney stories and movies were popular topics for students to recreate and verbalize in a playful setting. Familiar stories such as Frozen, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty were the most popular for students to interact with during recesses and dramatic play. By observing and listening to what was going on, we determined that this was a form of literacy because it was showing their comprehension and retelling of stories. Additionally, when students had the opportunity to draw at writing centers, they created pictures that were related to these stories that they had read in the classroom. This shows how the children interpret the material being learned and shows how they can creatively represent a text.
Created using Powtoon.